What's up, community? This is Danielle Forward here, CEO and founder of Natives Rising, where we holistically empower Indigenous people with jobs in technology, entrepreneurship, and wellness education. Today, we're focused on technology in our hiring series for how to get hired in this new age of AI, specifically focused on early careers and internships for y'all. I'm very excited to talk to Megan Hardin today from our partner Shipt, who will explain their whole internship program and how you can get hired. And it's prime time because they hire in February, which is your lucky day. So I'm very excited to welcome Megan. Hi, Megan.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Super excited to chat with you about this, especially in very specific detail, because some of the previous lives we've done have been a bit broader, right? They haven't really been specific to a particular company. So this is really exciting because I know folks are still looking, and we have some great candidates watching here. And would love to just get started with can you tell us a bit about what you do at Shipt and just what your expertise is?
Yeah, of course. So, hi, I'm Megan Hardin. I am technically a program manager on the talent acquisition team, but early career and internships all kind of fall within my wheelhouse. So, I spend time working to recruit our summer interns. I plan out the summer internship program, and I'm with our interns from the start to the end of their journey. But then I'm also spending time physically on campuses as well and hosting events like this. So anything that's early career kind of falls to me at Shipt, which is a wonderful honor to have.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know previously we were talking about how rare it is for one person to oversee the top of funnel of applicants and then guiding them throughout the process and then seeing how is your internship going later on, which is really cool perspective. I would love to know, could you share what makes Shipt's internship program unique, and maybe what types of roles or projects do interns work on, and just sort the whole range of, roles that you guys hire interns for?
Yeah. Ooh, you're getting me on a roll. So I truly feel so lucky to have the amount of, I don't love saying like influence over the internship program, but I've had a lot of empowerment and a lot of autonomy to design the internship program to be kind of what it is today. So taking previous intern feedback, doing a little recon while I'm on campus and taking into account like what me and my peers and other folks in the tech industry would have loved to have had in an internship, and kind of putting that all together into a program that feels like a natural extension of the full-time experience at Shipt. So interns are with us for 10 weeks during the summer. They join us beginning of June and run through the middle of August. And interns are full-time, fully paid, full-time employees with us. So interns are being brought along the journey of what their teams are working on, what business critical updates the teams might be focusing on during the summertime, but then also working on things that are academically or professionally motivating to them. So the thing that I feel like makes our internship program the most unique is the customized and very individually tailored experience each one of our interns get. Our program is fairly small. We only have about 20 total interns with us during the summer, which means that some of our interns are the only interns in their entire department. All of our interns do have a one-to-one relationship with their managers and their teams. So there's never a time where interns are all reporting to the same manager or feeling like they're having to share time or attention. I kind of make the joke that interns are the center of attention on their team, and they have a built-in buddy and a mentor and other folks on the team that are there to really help shape their time and give them that full kind of like red carpet, white glove sort of experience. But we also want to know what our interns are looking for. Our interns also come to us from a variety of different backgrounds. We have folks who are traditional college students who maybe this is their first internship ever. We have some interns who come to us as a, second career, or they come to us from a technical boot camp. We've had MBA students and master students and PhD students, and again, folks who are making a career pivot. So it's always this really interesting, very uniquely tailored experience to each one of our interns and the cohort in general. We have the opportunity to really create a unique and dynamic cohort culture each summer. And so, like I said, interns do have, that other hand on the steering wheel to help determine what their time looks like. So whether that is, you want to work on a large overarching project from, week 2 to week 9, where you're kind of chipping away at it day by day throughout the time when you're with us during the summer, you have all the power and authority to kind of, you know, express that interest and be brought along on that overarching journey, help your manager helping you to kind of tackle, like, what does it look like to set a 6-week long goal for a project? Maybe you're someone who wants to get better with a particular technical skill, or you want to grow in one particular area. You want to get a certification. We want to make sure that your goals are part of your intern experience. Maybe you are just looking to get a little bit more professional experience and exposure in your focus area. And so you do 3 or 4 projects that you're working on throughout the summer. Overall, our interns have joint kind of decision and discretion of how they spend their time during the summer. We want to make sure that they feel like they are contributing, that they have a sense of scope and understanding of how their work impacts the broader overall kind of structure of their team, what their teams are working for and working towards. But we also want to make sure that our interns feel like they're challenged and they're growing, and that they're in an environment where they can try and they can try something new, and they can make mistakes in an environment that is ideally nurturing and is focused on growth and focused on kind of that experimentation, that innovation, and that sense of curiosity.
Mm-hmm. You said so many great things. One of the things I love the most, I think, about Shipt's opportunities is that, so there's trade-offs, right? When you go to a super large company versus a startup versus a small to mid-size, I would say Shipt is probably in the small mid-size range. One of the great benefits of that is that customization that you spoke about, this sort of, you get to be more part of what your experience is like. Maybe you have more influence, there's less people. So maybe you just get more attention. Like you mentioned, there, nobody's competing. And I really loved how you mentioned, so you guys will actually hire interns that went to just a boot camp. So people don't have to be in college to get an internship at Shipt?
Not at all, not at all. We know that it's really difficult to potentially get that first experience in whatever your area you're in. I mean, but especially in technology. And so we want to make our programming inclusive. Again, we have interns that span the full spectrum of experience and academic experiences. And we want to make sure that folks can get that first kind of technical exposure, regardless of if they are a true traditional student or not.
That's incredible. I can't tell you how valuable and awesome that is, because so many companies have so many barriers to even applying. So people that, are, maybe they're a single mom and they're working full time and going to school part-time in the evenings, they're a part-time student. They might not be able to qualify because they're only looking for full-time students in this year. And there's just so many barriers structurally that so many companies exclude a ton of people that might otherwise be great fit. And so I just love, and deeply appreciate your guys' flexibility and understanding, because so many people have that situation, including myself, where I saw firsthand, like, how many hoops you had to jump through just to even, make something, just to even be eligible for an opportunity, when ironically, so many of these companies are like, we're so inclusive, or they want to be, but then they don't realize structurally how they are excluding certain types of people that have, different responsibilities, or they're caring for, a sick parent, or they're have other things going on. It's so cool. On that note, does that mean if somebody has already graduated that they could still apply? Oh, yes. Okay, good.
Some of my favorite success stories from folks who I get to call my coworkers now started as post-grad interns, or someone who had been a year out of school, or again, who'd taken that, had been in one particular career path, took some time off to pivot, to go to a boot camp, to do some self-learning, to take additional resources to get, this different opportunity, are now some of my coworkers who I get to bring along on the journey and, put them in front of students or put them in front of a campus community or folks who are interested in internships and say like, hey, just because you might be worried about being the XYZ intern, you've come from this different path or you're post-grad or whatever it is. Like, here is somebody who has walked that path, who's had that experience and is now with us full time. Obviously, like we love to retain our interns as much as possible. And it's worked out in the past couple of years. We've had those post-grad interns able to start with us full time. But I never want, again, that .edu email address to be something that is a perceived barrier to our internship program.
Freaking awesome. I love you guys. You guys are the best. It's the best. Question from the audience. Do you hire international students for internships?
Yes. So we have had interns in the past who are international students. That is not a barrier to your employment as an intern at Shipt.
Dang. This is really, really awesome. Great. So I guess, I did want to make it clear. And the roles you guys hire for, it's not just software engineers, right? It's the whole spectrum.
Correct. It spans the full spectrum of teams and departments at Shipt. So that's another reason why our program is fairly small, is that and one of the reasons why our internships open in February is we really want to get an idea of what is our business critical needs, what are teams that could really benefit from the time of an intern, what are teams that have the ability to nurture and to support an intern. There are times where we've had teams who've hosted interns year over year in the past, and maybe they're really busy or they have a new project that they're working on and they don't necessarily have the time to fully invest and devote in an intern. That's a time where they take a little bit of a pause this year and they circle back next year to join us. But interns range from true software engineering, data science, product design, user research, all the way to experiential operations, accounting, finance, marketing, project management. It is the full spectrum. So we've had interns in every single department every year, but each year there's always a little bit of a change up. This past summer, we had our first ever sales intern. So that was really exciting for them to get that kind of first time experience too.
Awesome. And then, so I heard you say, hi, Ibrahim. I heard he's asking how many interns they hire per cycle. I heard 20, right, Megan? And then, so it's 20. And then Wilson would love to know, of the 20, how much of that is software engineering? Like 2, 3, kind of depends.
About half. So about half of our roles fall within technology. So that includes software engineering, front end, back end, DevOps, those kinds of things. Cybersecurity also falls within engineering, but then data science, product design, user research, all of that falls within general technology. And then the other half, so marketing, finance, operations, we normally have a legal intern. That is the other half.
Nice. Wait, do you hire cybersecurity interns?
We haven't since 2023. I'm hopeful. Again, that's another reason why our internships kind of ebb and flow each year. They're all kind of based on business need. But I'm hoping that we can wrangle cybersecurity back in there. But we have had some cybersecurity interns from application security to like traditional like security IT analysts, all the way to like, traditional cybersecurity.
Nice. One question from Jonathan. I love that I can do this with this software. Yeah. So what about those who work full time? So I'm assuming he's wondering about hours, right? I guess. And what about insurance? Is all that covered? I'm assuming he needs health insurance. You could clarify, Jonathan, if you want.
Yeah. So I'll answer from what I understand it to be and kind of what we're assuming here. So if folks do work full time, so it is a full-time position. So our interns work roughly, I always say kind of 8-ish to 6-ish, whatever, however you and your team want to kind of work out what your daily hours are, depending on where you're located. We have interns that span, coast to coast. So we have some interns in the past who most of their team is on the West Coast and they're on the East Coast. And so they want to work West Coast hours or vice versa. So it is a full-time position. So it would be one of those things where if you were already working full-time, that would be a really, really difficult kind of balance to have, unless maybe you have your full-time role be outside of those business hours. And since interns are fixed term employees, so there is kind of a a definitive start and end date. Interns aren't eligible for full-time benefits. So like health insurance, 401k, stuff like that. It is kind of a temporary position.
Got it. Okay. Great question. One from Carlos really quick before we move on to qualities you look for, best ways to stand out. Let's see. If applying for the software engineering role, should we expect an online assessment or a hacker rank?
Yes. So for some of our technical roles, and this is kind of gives a good kind of spectrum of the types of teams that are hosting and like what we're looking for in interns. Some of our teams do have projects or work that they're working on that do need to have some of those more experienced technical skills. So just for all of my tech folks on the call, we've got Golang is our main language on the back end, and then we use React and React Native on the front end. And then Python is what a lot of our software or our data science teams use. And so where it is necessary for an intern to be able to come in and contribute at a technical level, there will be some sort of technical assessment. And typically the way that this looks for folks coming into an intern role is it is a very simple kind of one-on-one paired programming kind of setting where you would share your screen. You'd be meeting directly with typically someone who is like a senior or a staff engineer or someone who's a little bit more senior on your team that can kind of help guide you through it. We'll give you a prompt. So we compare this to an easy question prompt on LeetCode, just for all my folks who use LeetCode out there. So essentially, we are just asking you to walk through a technical problem. I kind of describe it as, tell me how you would make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but from the coding perspective. Don't just do the problem. We're not looking for how quickly or how fast or even how right you are solving this problem. But okay, first I'm going to go to the cabinet and I'm going to go grab bread and peanut butter. Then I'm going to go to the drawer and grab a knife. And then I'm going to go to like that kind of thing. We want to see your thought process. We want to see, if you run into a roadblock, how you can retrace your steps and go back to the beginning and say like, oh, this is where I ran into things. Or, if you're not able to kind of see those roadblocks or where you might have gone wrong, being able to be receptive to that feedback and say like, oh, okay, yes, this is great. Or what kind of advice would you have for me to avoid this kind of problem in the future? It's a really dynamic kind of conversation. So yes, it is a live conversation where you're talking directly to one of our engineers, but it's not something where we're asking you to do a bunch of homework or you're going to have to turn in an assessment and someone's going to be grading you on the quality of your coding. It's more of how you approach the problem at hand and how you kind of get from point A to point B and all of the steps in between.
Nice. Okay. Y'all, I love your engagement. There's so many questions already. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit from some of the questions that I have and then some of the questions in the audience. But I think we did get one that was talking about what are the best ways to stand out when applying at Shipt. So I guess I love having the question on screen actually. So I wonder if I can do that. Okay. Yeah, there we go. What are the best ways to stand out when applying at Shipt? I know somebody in the audience had said they had applied. So if you could give a perspective from a software engineer applying and then maybe other folks, or if it's different at all, and how to get to that first interview stage.
Yeah. So I would say the things that we're looking for when folks are applying is, especially when we're posting our internships, I do always have that question of why are you interested in this role? And that is it can be a quick 1 to 2 sentence response. It can be, a more traditional cover letter, however you want to put it in there. But really the ways that I say to best stand out are to do things like this and in a more traditional setting, a joke that I make to a lot of my campus students is be where we are. Create that relationship. Our internships open a little bit later, so there's a lot of time for us to craft that relationship, for us to get to know our candidates, for y'all to show up to things like this. Again, I know Ibrahim mentioned earlier that we've met before, we have been on different calls before in a more traditional setting, and that is the biggest piece of advice that I have is yes, it takes a little extra time and effort, but it's something that I would go back and tell myself over and over and over again if I were doing this all over is put yourself in situations that make you a little uncomfortable, be the least knowledgeable person in the room, and just show your effort and show your interest early and often. And then when it comes to like the physical application, like let's say, again, I know that folks have lives and there are things that are going on and you might not always have the time to carve out, an hour or two of your day to be able to attend multiple events throughout the fall semester. But I want to see as much of a full picture of what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, what motivates you, what, sparks that curiosity and that creativity in your work. So if you are a technical engineer or you are coming out of a boot camp program or you're a traditional student, I want to see, yes, obviously, like how you're able to contribute technically, like, if you've got a GitHub and some of the projects that you've worked on, but I want to see how you're collaborating with other people, how you're working in a team, how you're showing up in your community. Again, what makes you motivated? What makes you excited when you put your 2 feet on the ground every morning? Like, what are the things that you're excited to be able to do? And while, yes, maybe that sounds a little warm and fuzzy for a technically focused internship, we try to maintain a very people-centric workplace and being able to bring folks in with a variety of perspectives, all under the same kind of motivation of like, we are here to give people their time back. We're ideally here to create meaningful opportunities for our interns, for our full-time folks to collaborate and connect and to learn from each other and to grow and to ideally do it in an environment that is supportive and nurturing and fosters that sense of growth and curiosity. And so those are the things that I'm really looking for. Like, I would much rather have an intern come in with, a larger learning curve that, is able to show like, here are all the ways that I'm, getting a little better every day, or here are the ways that I'm contributing. And again, I know I'm speaking to it from kind of a technical mindset, but, here are all the contributions I'm making to my GitHub on a day-to-day basis. My code might not be perfect, but I'm still working and I'm still putting effort towards it. Those are the things. Like if you are, even from like a non-technical perspective, if you've got a portfolio or you can show off some of the projects or conferences or things that you've been doing, or even just like your volunteer projects or the student orgs or community engagement that you're a part of. If you've helped build a website for a local nonprofit, if you are volunteering your time with a local student group, if you are an academic tutor, there are more things that make a quality applicant than just being the most perfect Golang coder in the world.
Thank you for sharing that, Megan. And I think what I'm getting is maybe all those soft skills or those qualities that are demonstrated through things like service or proactivity or initiative and drive or all these other sort of soft skills. Is that what you're saying when you say that you admire these other sort of other things? Like, what do you see in those activities that makes it appealing?
Yeah, it's definitely, again, as our internship is focused on that kind of growth, that kind of exploration, again, potentially maybe even the first internship in your particular area, soft skills are what you're able to lean back on to grow your hard skills. As I've said in a couple of different instances, we can teach you how to create a marketing engagement calendar. We can teach you how to run a financial analysis. We can teach you how to get better at Python or JavaScript. Those are things that you can learn while you're doing, but I don't necessarily know that I can teach someone to be curious or to be, motivated or driven. We do have our 5 core values at Shipt. They are rally, drive, positivity, authenticity, and caring. Again, those are things that there are ways that they show up in different ways, but it's not necessarily something where it's like, oh yeah, in an internship, I can teach you exactly how to grow a sense of innovation, or I can teach you how to grow a sense of curiosity, or you can start becoming more motivated. Those are things that I feel like you have to determine in yourself of what makes you motivated, what makes you excited, what are you curious about learning in? And those are the things that ideally the internship can help foster and give you exposure to, versus like, if you're just the most proficient person at writing Python code, that's great, but this internship goes a little bit deeper than just sitting on your computer and coding every single day, or sitting on your computer and doing emails kind of thing.
That's such a great way of explaining it, Megan. Thank you. That the soft skills drive the hard skills in terms of like when things get challenging or difficult, or you're learning something new, or you're working with maybe a difficult coworker, or all these things that come up that are ever evolving, right? It's not this fixed endpoint of, okay, well, now I know this thing and I'm done growing and learning. You want people that are, that will evolve with the needs of the company, that'll evolve with the projects and the team. That's an awesome way of doing it. I'd love to get more into like the technical process of how somebody's application moves through. So like ATS optimization, if you guys use an ATS, is it you looking over 500 resumes yourself? Do you look at them for 30 seconds? If so, what do you look for? Like, how do you move them through? So that sort of thing. So I guess we could start, maybe I'll just put it on the screen as well. Basically, how do you get through the resume scan stage? How is ATS optimization used with y'all? And just describe that. Would love for you to take me through that process for how you're looking at resumes.
Yeah. So I'll start kind of from the very, very beginning of one of the ways in which I am building a talent pipeline from the get-go is through my utilization of a talent community. So throughout the fall semester and even through late spring and early summer, before the next year's internships application cycle kicks off, I'm cultivating a community of students that I'm keeping engaged with via email, via our talent community, about once a month, giving them updates on how the internship program went during the summer, recaps of past intern testimonials, projects that they worked on, new business updates, new business news. So that way our folks who are interested in being applicants in the future feel a sense of like action. There's a sense of two-way communication happening, even when there's not an application to officially submit yet. So throughout the fall semester and throughout the summer, folks who attend events are added to our talent community. And the way that we host our talent community and our internship applications is through an external partner called Ripple Match. They are a job board that is specifically geared towards early career talent, whether that's internships or full-time roles, that kind of, in their words, kind of does like the matching / digest. As somebody who is a Ripple Match user, you can create a profile, like listing what kind of roles you're interested. You can put your skills, your background, the things that you are excited about, and it will send you a digest of internships that are interesting to you or that match your qualifications or the things that you're looking for. Additionally, you can also, just as a regular company, host your internship applications on Ripple Match's platform, and people are able to apply. So we have folks who come to us from both of those avenues. So folks who apply via our shipt.com/internships landing page. So instead of applying via our typical ATS workday, which is where we host our full-time applications, interns are applying through Ripple Match, either through direct application, or I'm inviting you through our talent community. A shameless plug for you to join the talent community. And those folks get a little bit of, early access. They get direct access. I deliver internship applications on a silver platter to our talent community members via email on the day that they go live. Or, you're someone who's never heard of Shipt, and it might be a good fit based on your interest and your technical skills and the things that you're looking for. So in that realm, so once somebody whatever method you get into the application and you officially submit your application, I'm always going to advise folks to fill out in as much detail as you feel comfortable pulling in the why are you interested in this role. And so the way me as a recruiter I have approached this process in the past, and maybe I'm a little old school. I know I'm a little bit of a Luddite in this mindset, but I start reviewing applications usually 2 to 3 times a week once they go live. And so I am in our applications usually every single day. I alternate between tech and non-tech roles, depending on, what's getting a little bit more traffic. And I am the person who is physically going through all of those resumes. So I'm looking, ideally, especially at first glance, I'm looking for those technical skills. If you're a part of our talent community, it adds a little tag to your application to let me know that, this person has been part of our talent community ongoingly. We met at this event. I'm able to, add notes of I met this person at this particular event back in September, or they came by a career fair table, or they came to a networking panel or an info session. All of those things come together on someone's application. So I can see like, okay, this person has the technical skills that we're looking for. They were part of this talent community. And here is their, their cover letter of why they're interested. So at the end of the day, it is these two eyeballs that have historically looked at almost every single one of our internship applications that have come in the past 4 summers. So that's why I pretty much dedicate February through April for intern recruiting. That's usually my sole 100% focus, is finding the best fit, being an advocate for our roles, making sure I can advocate for our program, that we're finding the best possible interns to join us during the summer. But then I'm also, advocating for my candidates, the folks that I've created these prolonged relationships with, to ideally help them along in the journey, for them to find the roles that they're most interested in. So I will say there was definitely one day where by the end of the day, I was like, wow, I've read a lot of law student writing samples. And most of it means, I don't want to say not a whole lot to me, because that is not my discipline or my area of expertise. But it was like, okay, I've been able to get a true sense of what the team is looking for, and I can advocate for the team by going that extra mile to find the right candidates. So I know that that's a very long answer to say, like, ATS optimization is something that is very, very hot topic right now. But as long as you have those technical skills, as long as you're able to pull in some of those things that we're looking for in the job description, we're going to find it.
Nice. And so in terms of formatting, I know some ATSs don't like cool Canva templates. It sounds like, is that an issue with you guys, or not really, because you're looking at them more manually?
It hasn't historically been an issue. I know that, again, I can speak to it from kind of a traditional academic lens. If I know that there are a lot of career centers out there who have a very lovely template that they guide all of their students to. If you meet with anybody as like a mentor or a job coach, a lot of folks are going to guide you towards the more optimized, I guess, singular sort of resume template that there is out there. And that is not a knock to say, like, don't do that. I don't want you to feel like you have to create 10 different versions of your resume to be able to effectively apply. But maybe if you've been holding on to your cool Canva resume, or you have one that really speaks to your unique personality or gets to bring out that artistic flair, maybe the Shipt application is the perfect place for that.
Nice. And I would love to talk about what everybody's wondering, which is AI in the hiring process. If you guys use it at all, or whether that's at any, maybe it's even part of your organizing process, or if it's in the filtering process, or how Shipt is using AI, if at all, in the hiring process.
Yeah. So obviously, like, AI is a big conversation right now. And since our internship applications haven't kicked off yet, I can't speak to exactly what that will look like going forward into the 2026 application cycle. But in the past, it hasn't been a big tool that I'm personally utilizing. Again, historically, I have been the only person that has been reviewing internship applications and reviewing resumes. And so it was an easier way for me. Again, maybe this is my Luddite tendencies coming out again. Maybe I wanted to trust myself and to trust my 2 eyes reviewing resumes and applications originally. So it wasn't something that has been a big part of our resume review process. I do have the ability to like keyword search, but that's less of like an AI and more of just like being able to have our platform pull out, kind of more traditional like Boolean searches. So we obviously want to utilize tools to be as efficient and effective as possible. And we want to make sure that our candidates are receiving a high touch, but also efficient and effective process. So you're not having to wait, days or weeks between notifications of steps moving forward or declinations or anything like that. So I know that we will be potentially utilizing it to be a little bit more efficient in the future, but as of right now, it's not something that we're using to pre-scan resumes or to give anything like that. So that's one reason why the advice that I always give is be some of those first applications to apply, because there's not typically a deadline to say, okay, applications open this day and then they officially close on this day. As soon as they open, that is when I'll go ahead and start reviewing and start sending resumes over to hiring managers to say, okay, hey, I've pulled these 3 today. I've pulled, 5 more tomorrow. I send over resumes to some of our hiring managers on a day-to-day basis, sometimes 2 times a week, sometimes once a week. I give them like a top 10 digest. So I always tell folks, like, get in early, apply. That way we can start moving along the process as soon as possible.
Awesome. So it sounds like if you see something you like, you'll send it to a hiring manager. If they're like, yeah, let's talk to this person, then will you set up a first interview, or what does the rest of the process look like?
Yeah. So I say it's a series of 4 conversations. So obviously we want to make sure that candidates are putting together the best possible foot forward. So whether that's through your resume, linking out a portfolio, a website, or your personal statement, want you to put your best foot forward there. But let's say everything looks great and your background and your skills align with one of the roles that we're looking for. We will schedule some time for us to, and again, historically speaking, me and this candidate to have a one-on-one conversation that's a little bit more informational versus like a traditional interview. So I always say that it's more of a housekeeping conversation where I give you more information about the role, about the team, about the internship program. I get more information about, you and what you're looking for. And again, advocating for our programs, needs and qualifications, as well as making sure that this is going to align with what you are looking for and being transparent there as well. Then we also go over what the next steps of the interview process would look like. So I tell each candidate who you'll be talking to next, the duration of those conversations, what might be a good thing to bring up. I want to be as much of a recruiter as I am an advocate and kind of a cheerleader and a limo driver to our internship applications. So folks can go into the process feeling as comfortable, confident, and informed as humanly possible into the next step. And so typically what those next steps look like is a one-on-one Zoom interview with our hiring manager. That's where I tell candidates, you'll dive deeper into your background, your work, all the things that make you a great fit for this role. And this would be the perfect time for you to talk to the hiring manager about their team, their leadership style, what they want their intern to work on, some of those more traditional interview questions. And then the final step of the process is what I call a mini panel. So you're meeting with ideally no more than 2 people who are also going to be on your same team in a more technical sense or more technical focused role. One of those conversations would be our paired programming assessment. And the other would be a more behavioral, traditional style interview where you'd be meeting with somebody who would potentially be your future intern buddy or somebody who you'd be working more closely with during the summer who would not be your direct manager. So really, conversation with the recruiter, conversation with the hiring manager, the mini panel with 2 members of the team.
Nice. I did have a question again about back to AI, but on the flip side. How would you recommend folks use AI tools when applying? So on their application, the cover letter, are there any red flags? Are you like, please don't make it obvious that you're using ChatGPT to answer everything? Because there's some recruiters I've talked to that said it can be really easy to see when somebody's using ChatGPT to answer everything because it'll tend to give the same answer. So any advice for how applicants should be using or not using AI in applying?
I always love this question. And again, I will preface this. You are speaking to one recruiter at one particular company in a sea of other folks who have different preferences, and their preferences change between person to person, from organization to organization. And so when it comes to being a candidate using AI, it is a tool that you can use. It is, again, a tool that should be used for efficiency and optimization, to give you a little bit more of your time back, to help you craft the right messaging for the right audience. But at the end of the day, it should be a lot of you coming through. And so I will say, like, the biggest red flag is make sure you take the prompt out of the thing that you paste in. Oh, yeah. I have had a couple of applications that include whatever their initial prompt was in their copy and paste results.
Come on, guys.
So just do a little work there. But also my goal of the recruiting process, and again, I am one person with this particular perspective, is I would much rather, and take this with a grain of salt, and I'm giving a lot of disclaimers here, I would much rather see a personal statement or a cover letter or a resume that doesn't have the most perfect 5-paragraph format. I would rather see some run-on sentences or some comma splices or, heaven forbid, even some typos, because that means that a person sat down and spent time and intention to apply to a role. They put their words to paper, and it gives me a lot more insight into who they are. Like, yes, typos are what they are, go back and reread your work a little bit. But at the same time, like, it shows me that these guys were the folks who were putting forth that work. And again, maybe that's my limited perspective, but it is a little obvious sometimes when folks are using very flowery, very like curated and perfected responses to some of our short answer questions, or to some of those kind of cover letter-esque questions. I know that a lot of folks are putting together a lot of applications. You're having to apply for way more jobs than there are available. And, I know it's difficult to hear back sometimes. And so you want to use your optimization tools to the best of your ability to save yourself a lot of time. But I also want your authenticity to come through too. That's one of our core values. And so if you are maybe someone who gives a lot of disclaimers, or you are not brief in your summary of your background and your skills, I don't want those things to be something that you feel like are a detriment. I want to get to know you ideally as a candidate. Like, call me old school.
Nice. Awesome. And in terms of LinkedIn, are you also looking at people's LinkedIns? Are you just looking at the resume? I guess, how important is LinkedIn in this process? And if so, how?
Yeah. So I would say that typically I'm looking at your LinkedIn to give additional context. I always say that the resume and your application is very much a quick snapshot. That is kind of your baseball card of your quick stats of who you are, what you're interested in, and what you're applying for. I want to do my due diligence as a recruiter to get the full picture of what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, again, how you're showing up to those around you, how you celebrate yourself, what you're involved in, how you're spending your time. For my traditional students out there, I know that you're doing a lot more than just going to class and doing homework. There is a lot of time in the day to do other things. Same thing if you are someone who's working in a full-time capacity right now, whether that's in the industry that you're interested in continuing in, or it's just a for now kind of experience. I know there's a lot of things that you might be doing between those 9 to 5-ish hours. And so I want your LinkedIn to kind of supplement what I'm seeing on your application. So whether that's attending a conference or what articles you're reading, it's not something that I'm going to put more weight or more stock into. I mean, LinkedIn at the end of the day is a social media platform, and in my opinion, is kind of treated as such. So I'm only really using LinkedIn to get a little bit more context into who you are. So if you want to put your full CV on your LinkedIn so I can get all the details and you don't feel like you're limited to that one page, a great recommendation I have. Or again, maybe you have your portfolio linked, or you just want to share some of your graphic design projects, or you want to put together an overview of some of the things that you've worked on in a coding boot camp. Whatever it is, I know that there are some things that you can't add to your resume or add to your application. And so your LinkedIn is a great place to supplement some of that information. But if you don't have one, it's not something that I'm like, tisk.
Oh, okay. That's good. Just keeping mindful of the time here. Let's see here. I did want to know about, what do you think are the biggest mistakes people make, maybe in the application process or their resume? I heard you say you look for the hard skills first, but where could somebody easily go wrong? Or what have you seen that you're wishing somebody did differently, maybe?
I would say that obviously it's kind of hard to go wrong in the like resume standpoint or like initial application, the only way that I would say like you could go wrong is by not utilizing the space that you're given. So like if you have the opportunity to input a cover letter or why you're interested in a role, I always say, yeah, it's extra time. Yeah, it's extra effort, but that's extra time and extra effort that could be very well spent, that gives somebody an additional glimpse into what motivates you and why you would be a great fit for their particular role. So I say definitely don't underutilize the space that you're given on your resume or your application. But especially when it comes to like the actual interview, and I know it is so, so difficult. And again, I'm speaking to this from this particular perspective, being on this side of the table, as I feel like the thing that folks forget the most is that when you get to an interview, there is a reason that you were there. There is a reason that somebody wants to talk to you. It is very natural for us as people to want to let our imposter syndrome to take over and to say like, they feel sorry for me, or they're giving me pity, or this isn't a real interview, or I've somehow tricked them into having this conversation. And what I always tell folks is, again, utilize the time that you've been given. Somebody has seen something that they want to know more about. And so let your experience and your passion speak for themselves during the interview process. Don't feel like you have, like, especially if you have that one-on-one conversation with a recruiter or a hiring manager, this is not the time to downplay yourself. It's not the time to doubt why you're there, or to doubt why someone might want to take a chance on you. And so it's very natural and easy to be nervous when you go into those conversations. But my biggest thing is own the space and own the opportunity, because you were there for a reason, and someone said like, they've got what I want and they want to talk to you about it.
Awesome. Thanks for the encouragement, Megan. I know it's like it's a silent epidemic, honestly.
That's hard.
I had a question from Emma, who's one of our community members, but she couldn't be here live because she has class right now. So this is for her. From your experience, what aspects of Shipt's culture drew you to the company, and what has made you want to stay?
Yeah. So just for some context for folks, I've been at Shipt for about 8.5 years now. I originally started on our customer experience team way back in 2017. And the things that drew me to Shipt initially were, especially at that point in time, I live in Birmingham, Alabama, have been in Alabama my entire life. And so at the time, it was a really unique opportunity to work in tech while being in Alabama. I thought that was a really interesting opportunity. And so it was something, my background is in environmental science, just for folks who are like, I can't make a career pivot. I work in HR program management. I was doing like stream surveying several years ago in my past life. But from there, the thing that made me want to stay and continues to make me want to stay at Shipt is the commitment to our people and to the learning and to the growth. I got into recruiting and HR through a simple shadowing session. I set up some time with someone who is a recruiting specialist to learn a little bit more about what they do. And I got the opportunity to learn and to see like, okay, I can use my transferable skills of organization and working with external stakeholders in kind of like community impact meetings to reframe that to working with candidates and to scheduling their interviews and to greeting them when they come into our office. And I got the opportunity to apply for an internal only role for a recruiting specialist, and kind of the rest is history. And so I've gotten to learn and to upskill and to grow. And we have a full learning and development team and several learning and development resources available to us. So maybe you're someone who has always been curious about making a career pivot, and you don't want to take time off or to take a sabbatical or to go back to school. And working at Shipt has made those kinds of learning and development opportunities possible. But again, our commitment to learning and growing from each other, to taking time to really let your authenticity shine so folks can learn how your unique perspective helps illuminate maybe some blind spots that I wasn't privy to beforehand. So it's really the people, but it's also the commitment to being a people-centric workplace that has really kept me at Shipt and continues to keep me at Shipt.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Emma, for the question. We're getting close to the end of the hour here, but I did want to ask you before maybe we take some more questions from the audience. So audience, if you still have questions, I will scroll back up to see what I missed. So don't feel forgotten. But if you have a new one, please drop it in the chat. Before that, Megan, what else should folks know that we haven't talked about yet?
Ooh, other things that folks should know. Again, like own your space, put yourself out there. I am going to go ahead and drop a link to our talent community. So feel free to join our talent community. Would love to make sure that we stay connected and we stay engaged and in touch between now and next summer. But really keep this kind of stuff up. I know, again, it's an extra thing that you're taking out of your time and out of your day, but having that sense, even if we don't have a one-on-one personal relationship where I'm able to ask like how your dog's doing or where you went for spring break, I try real hard to have name recognition, and if not name recognition, face recognition. And so I want to make sure that when I see your application, it's a sense of, yes, finally this person has applied, or that I'm able to see that you attended an event, or that you are a part of our talent community, or if you have a question that you feel like we can have kind of that two-way dialogue. So I really appreciate the time and effort that y'all have put in today. And I really am excited to see all the folks who join our talent community from this conversation today. And so I do see,
which I wish I could make this clickable for the for the people that are not in StreamYard right now, but I could share this with all the folks who registered, so that way you can definitely join this talent community, which is really cool, by the way. I haven't really seen many I haven't seen a lot of other companies do that, so that's really awesome to stay connected that way. Megan, were you gonna point at this new question from Ashton?
I was gonna say that's something that I feel like I haven't touched on yet. So we're not able to provide relocation assistance to our internships because our internships are remote friendly. So while we do have our
favorite part.
Yes. Well, we do have our 3 office locations. So our main office is in Birmingham, Alabama. We have an office in San Francisco, California, and then a presence in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We don't only have interns in those areas. So while I would say half of our interns are kind of around one of those 3 locations, the rest of them are fully remote. This past summer, we had interns who were outside Chicago. We had someone who is based in New York. We had someone in South Florida. We had folks who were in Atlanta, some folks in Texas, some folks in other parts of California. Our internships are open and accessible to all folks, regardless of their location. You do have to be located in the United States during the summer. We're a US-based company, so that's the only disclaimer that I'll put there. But don't feel like you have to uproot your whole life to be a Shipt intern. I know I kind of mentioned that with working hours, but we have teams who are in every single time zone. And so teams are already working really hard to create connection and collaboration despite space and time differences. We've always had our 2 main office locations. And so even from my early days of working really closely with our other recruiting specialists in our San Francisco office, we were already collaborating using our tech tools. We were already having that sense of communication and collaboration despite not being in the same office location. So we keep that up, and we're really intentional about creating a program that is inclusive regardless of location, both for the intern cohort themselves and for each individual team.
What a great answer. I'm so glad we talked about that, because that's another rare-ish, thing that you guys offer, which is so cool. I think we have time for a couple more questions. Jonathan's asking, is it at all possible for someone to shadow a software engineer at Shipt? I'm not sure the context, but...
So that's not something that we've ever done in the past, of having a true shadowing session. But now that my counterpart, Ashley Harrington, who I know that y'all have potentially gotten the chance to engage with her before. She is bringing me along on our external talent partner journey and letting me know a little bit more outside of, my traditional campus space. And so I want to be able to have more sessions where we can bring in subject matter experts, especially our software engineers, for them to walk through what their day-to-day looks like, to give kind of a code demo and a code review of what our interns have gotten experience in. So those are some of my scheming plans for 2026, is to make some of our on-campus programming a little bit more accessible to the broader community. So stay tuned, I hope.
Nice. Let's see, scrolling back up here. I like this question. How far along do we need to be in boot camp in order to qualify for the internship?
So I wouldn't say that you need to be in one particular place or another. Most of our tech roles, we are going to be searching for based on technical experience. So if you've taken a 10-week coding boot camp exclusively in React or React Native, that is fantastic and gives you a qualified technical skill for some of our front end engineering roles. We did have a team this past summer, one of our very few full stack teams at Shipt, who they were fairly small. They had 2 front end engineers and 2 back end engineers and an engineering manager, and they had more time and ability to have kind of one-on-one nurturing experience with their intern. So our intern got a full stack experience where they spent one-on-one time with every single person on their team. They did not know Go or React coming in. So I always say that, like, as long as you've got at least that baseline technical experience and you were able to kind of walk yourself through one of our technical kind of assessment conversations, you don't necessarily have to be at one benchmark or the other. Obviously, having our technical skill set or some sort of building block to that is going to be immensely helpful in moving you along through the interview process. But if you are halfway through and you feel really proficient at Python and Go, I fully welcome your application. Just like we
Nice.
have interns who come to us as rising sophomores, as we do folks who are finishing up a master's program. Got a full range of experiences.
This is so awesome. Well, we are at time, Megan. I want to be respectful of your time and just want to say thank you so much for sharing all of your time and insights today. I think, yep, we got through a ton of great questions. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining live. And any last words, Megan, before we close?
Thank you all for your time, and don't be shy. Don't be a stranger. Let me know if you need anything. And I look forward to seeing all of these names in our talent community soon.
That's right. You guys better sign up. That's an amazing opportunity. All right. So we'll let Megan go here and then I'll do my little closing thing. Thank you, Megan, so much. Okay, y'all. Thanks for your time and for joining live. And if you'd love to join more events like this and stay part of our community and opportunities from our partners like Shipt, then you can follow us on social media or sign up for our newsletter at nativesrising.co. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.